Hello and welcome to Upstate New York Racing. I have the privilege of meet with one of five of the council members that are running for the seat. Now this is Upstate New York Racing. I don't normally do this on the channel, but I asked him. He said he would do it. We are at the beautiful Riverwalk. We got the falls right behind us. Falls right behind us, and it's a beautiful day out. I thought, the Riverwalk there's not many people that come down through here. Well, some of them, but a lot of them. Please give your comments of what you think, of what you want to ask, because I'm going to be doing an updated live with him, with running for council member Patrick Hickey. So, Patrick, I got a few questions if you want to stand in the camera. With the way the city council members are running, do you think that if you got on the board, you would be bringing back the fire truck, the pools, and making it okay for them to open up pot shops?
Well, first of all, I'm looking for transparency in city government, which is lacking at the moment. We do a lot of things in executive session that should be done in the public purview at the city council meeting. As far as the fire truck goes, I think it was a total misrepresentation of the city's needs. As far as the heavy rescue truck, I believe the heavy rescue truck should come back. I worked 15 years for Guilfoyle Ambulance, worked for the city police department and the city fire department on a, like I said, 15-year basis. And without those two other emergency services, it would have been extremely difficult to care for the individuals in Watertown. The fire department heavy rescue truck worked as a first responder unit, so they may have gotten there before Guilfoyle and could have rendered emergency care, CPR, whatever is necessary for the individual. As far as the pools is concerned, I totally would like to see all three pools be reestablished in the city of Watertown. The Flynn pool will result in about a $300,000 charge because of the plumbing needs and electrical needs that pool has to have done, along with some sealing that is going to be required if they end up doing that plumbing detail. And the Altieri pool should have been open this year. It required about $50,000 worth of work, all of which could have been done by city workers throughout the winter. And the city council decided not to order the parts, and therefore we could not get city employees to work on that project during the winter months and satisfy that requirement.
Now, one question: the Flint pool. It's the Northside League pool is drained. There's no water in it. They've already got to rip up the shell. So why not do that now and save the cost? DPW can do the work. They have the equipment. But in 2030, the mayor keeps saying our hydro runs out. What do you think about putting solar buildings on half these buildings that the city owns?
Well, I not only would support solar, but I would go as far as going geothermal for all of our city buildings. Normal temperatures in a geothermal environment are about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, and certainly going from 50 degrees to 72 degrees it uses much less energy than it does currently when we have a negative zero outside and having to go to 72, which is how we're doing it now. The electrical grid, though, if everything was done by electricity, is still being siphoned off Faith, Hope, and Charity. So that power really can't be counted because in the future that deduction won't exist anymore.
Yep.
So we need to really kind of consider what we need to do to become more green friendly. We're using probably one of the worst environmental items in nature to transport people with the city bus system of using diesel buses. Can have a huge impact on health and the quality of air. And you know, I don't see if there's all heading towards an electric standpoint of usage, why can't we be looking at electric buses? Maybe a challenge in the winter because of battery life, but that's for people a lot brighter than I am as far as what we can have the city do and what we should be going for in order to not only become more green but save money at the same time.
Now, with the city buses, right now they start at 7 o'clock and they stop at 5:40. Would you be okay if they said, okay, let's start the buses out at 7 o'clock and go to 10:30 so that people can actually get out, they can actually go to the movies, they can actually do things? In Watertown, there's nothing to do except go to the mall, which is basically not all there. I mean, you got half the food court's not even there, but you still have stores that are open until 9 o'clock, but the last movie gets out at 10:20 or goes in at 10:20. Why don't the city extend the bus hours to make it up for that?
I think that's probably a really good idea. There is a mobility management director that is supposedly created for Jefferson County, and that mobility manager will not only handle the interconnection between St. Lawrence County and Jefferson County, but as well as Lewis County and Jefferson County buses. So you could literally pick up a bus and at the pickup spot in Watertown and go up to the Eisenhower locks in Messina, because they're all supposed to be connected. And that goes obviously to saying that if you had a course in Oswego, we would tie into the Oswego grid. People could leave Watertown, go to their class in Oswego, and come home same day, same bus service. I think it's a great idea. The mobility management manager, there's actually going to be an update on one of the next work sessions. I'm thinking it's going to be August, but we've got some issues with Hospice that may infringe upon some of that time. But I think the idea is not just to do the city of Watertown, but to do it multiple county-wide. The plan is there. The money is there from the federal government. In fact, it's sitting in a bank waiting for someone to access it. And I think all we've really got to do is give the go-ahead to start, connecting with these other counties and see what we can do.
Now, with Hospice, we were both at the council meeting last week, or I think Monday, and they had an argument about giving them, I think it was $47-something to upgrade their air purifier system or something.
It was a $400,000.
It was it was 400 something. Yeah. Hospice takes care of the people that are basically ready to pass on. Should they have given them the money, or should they have not have given them the money?
Well, first of all, they tabled that item, so it really didn't come to a yes or no vote. And the reason why they tabled it is because there's other nonprofits in the city and county that could legitimately access that money. And we really didn't have a system in place in order to do that. What were the prerequisites? That came from the federal government. What projects could be paid for out of that $23 million and what couldn't. The big question, though, really goes back to the city is how much of that 22 million plus does the city want to give to nonprofits? We've got on the books over $23,000 worth of infrastructure needs for water and sewer lines. So it really will come down to if the city says we'll give half of it. Let's round it off and say $10 million. If $10 million was spread over the 50 nonprofits, that's about $200,000 a piece. But there's requirements. Does the project meet the requirement that the federal government will allow to be spent? That's important because any money that is spent by an agency that does not meet the federal requirement, the city of Watertown foots the bill. So it's important to understand what items are allowed and what aren't. That process needs to be, documented. It needs to be finalized, and we need to, find out what other agencies wants the money. If we left it at $200,000, obviously Hospice was asking for $400,000, but there are other agencies that maybe don't need $200,000. So we could have money left over that we could reassign as a second pass to those agencies that don't or that do want it, but would exceed the $200,000 limit. In order to reach that, they will have to have blueprints, full schematics of what their plan is, quotes from builders, a total design of whatever infrastructure that they're going to have, quotes from other businesses that will supply product. It will be quite thorough, and because this money is not a gift that goes into their bank account. This is a project-driven grant that we got that is totally sponsored by the federal government. So there are specific requirements that need to be met. And that's the whole process that the city council needs to take on, is what are going to be the questions that have to be asked, what are the projects that will be allowed, and then we would match them against the individual nonprofits that write in and say, we'd like a piece of that, $22 million, and here's my letter of interest, what do we need to do from there? And that's kind of the bottom line.
Now, my last thing before I let you go, they're planning to do something really stupid. They want to build an amphitheater in a beautiful park. I'm going to be taking some video of it before it gets destroyed. Should it be built there, or should it be built somewhere where it's less noticeable? They have a whole spot up there where they could build an amphitheater. Not at that beautiful hill. What do you think? Is it the right idea to build it, or is it a wrong build it? Hey, let's move it somewhere else and let's scale it down.
Okay, this is going to be fairly easy because the way the application process was written to the federal government for those DOD funds, it was specifically written for Thompson Park. It's the Thompson Park Amphitheater. So would we get awarded this money, the only place we can put it is Thompson Park. So that's basically it in a nutshell. Do I personally think that having it on Kite Hill is a smart thing? Actually not. I think the Mercy site would be ideal. A lot of parking lots in the Clinton Street area, right behind where the Mercy site is, there's parking. Across the street from the Mercy site, there are houses and also parking areas there. It's within walking distance to hotels. It's within walking distances to restaurants. I think if you want to regenerate downtown Watertown, I think it is my belief. It's put it where, if you buy and get a ticket to go to a concert in an amphitheater at Thompson Park, you're going to get there by car or walk. You're going to drive away from it after the concert is done and go home. Whereas if we had this amphitheater in downtown Watertown, you've got the capability of walking to a nearest restaurant, walking to, your hotel without having to move your car.
Yep.
It will bring a lot more business and a lot more public relations to the city of Watertown. And we need to market it. And, right now the only marketing I see for it is the potential wedding that could occur there. And it will open up more bathrooms, which were needed up there to begin with. But the key thing is they're kind of counting on renting this space out to DPAO. Fantastic organization. But they will only be paying a rental fee for that building. I do not believe, unless contracts are modified and changed, that it would also be a percentage of the ticket sales, because that's how DPAO gets their income to run their businesses and run their programs, is the profit that they receive from these named performers. So I don't see that as a major money-making business for us, other than the ticket sale. Whereas if we place it, smack dab Arsenal and Stone Street in the Mercy lot, you'll increase all the businesses in that area and improve their bottom line. You've increased their tax base that they're going to be paying taxes on, which comes directly to the city of Watertown.
Now, last thing, the square. You've heard people say that there's problems with the lights, that there's problems with the square gets backed up. Do you think the section that they made a single section, should we go back to double in front of the courthouse?
In front of Arsenal Street?
Yeah.
No, that's Arsenal Street corridor has been a nightmare for as long as I've been here. I'm 68. So I've driven Arsenal Street for just a couple of years. The problem is people walk out in front of you. They don't maintain the only area you walk is in the crosswalk. They'll walk out in the middle of the street in front of you to get over to the Department of Motor Vehicles building, the county building, and the court building. So I don't think putting it back the way it was is going to be a good solution. I think we need some kind of a lighting like we do on Factory Street to identify a person that wants to cross, so at least the driving public is, quickly informed with flashing lights. The problem is the general public don't use them.
Yep.
I have sat on Factory Street at Moe's for breakfast, and constantly sitting there for an hour, and I've witnessed at least 12 people cross at that crosswalk in front of Moe's, and 10 out of the 12 do not press the button. Now, they take their chances.
If, let's say, they put the light back, the light that was supposed to be at the bus station, would that give them the ability to open that up to get more traffic through, or do you think it's just going to get worse?
It's all going to be timing. I mean, we've already taken on at least 3 studies that I'm aware of timing traffic lights through the square. And the original intent was not to have cars sitting there using fuel, not moving. That was the initial intent. The second attempt was cars are backing up on Arsenal Street all the way back to Massey Street because the traffic flow didn't keep traffic moving. So another study was done. We had study after study of how can we improve not only the traffic flow but the safety of pedestrians. And I think bottom line is you gotta make the walking path across the streets longer for people that are not only getting older, but there's people on cell phones that are walking across the street. You got people that are handicapped that are using walkers and or